Who's ready to hear Johnny Depp's side of the story? So this is the deposition of John C. Depp, aka Johnny Depp. And as you may have been watching the other videos, or if you're caught up with all this stuff, Johnny Depp is going to be in court about next month, and he's being sued by a locations manager for something that happened or allegedly happened on City of Lies. So now we have Johnny Depp's deposition right here, and if you missed it, I did upload the Rocky Brooks deposition as well. There's 2 parts of it, and I don't know how many parts this is going to be. Let's just see how many days. There might be 2 parts. We'll see. This one's about 66 pages long, but, it goes by fast, and there's a lot of, junky pages, so it shouldn't be too bad. For this one, since, it's Johnny Depp, I guess, I don't know, because it feels weird to read Johnny Depp's line, but, read it in my tone of voice, so maybe I'll try to, slow it down a little bit and speak a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But then if I'm over it, I'm just going to go back and read my normal tone of voice. So let's go check it out, guys. All right. We got the deposition here. So this deposition was recorded on, by the way, thank you, Deadline. Got this for free. This deposition was recorded on September 11, 2019. Now, this is the transcripts of it. And again, it's not the full transcript. I think they only kept the pages that was relevant. And this happened, let's see, Rocky's deposition happened about 2 days after this. So they probably were intermingled, the dates were. So September 2019. And again, the incident happened in April of 2017. So this is roughly about a year and a half later. Oh, also, by the way, I drove by the courthouse where they're going to have this trial at. It's at the Stanley Moss Courthouse. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to be waiting outside. Can you go in with a wristband and stuff like that? I don't know. It looks too crazy. Deposition of John C. Depp II, taken on behalf of the plaintiff at Sunset Tower Hotel, 8358. I don't know, does this matter? Los Angeles, California, commencing at 1:39 p.m. on Wednesday, September 11, 2019, before Jean Kim, a certified shorthand reporter in and for the County of Los Angeles, State of California. All right, again, so here are the lawyers for Rocky Brooks. We have Armanok Lal. So the attorneys are Tamar G. Armanok, and then we have Arabella Azizian. For the defendant, Johnny Depp, we have Brown Rudnick. We have, Camille Vasquez's name is on here. We have Randall A. Smith and Camille Vasquez. Also present, Adam Waldman and John Siegel. Adam Waldman is Johnny Depp's personal attorney. And you might have heard about him during the Amber Heard defamation trial. Okay, so it cuts off a little bit right here. As you can see, Good Films is by Ms. Armanok. So Ms. Armanok, Rocky's lawyer is doing the questioning. So just to let you guys know. Oh, okay. The production company is not familiar to you. Good Films Production out of New York. Is that true? It's not familiar? No, it's not particularly familiar, no. And I think I'm going to give you the same name you're looking for. Miriam Siegel? Yes. Is that the person you're referring to? Yes, she was one of the producers. Okay, so if I could take a step back and ask who the producers of the film were, could you tell me who they were? There were Miriam, Brad Furman, director and producer. There was myself, my sister, Christy, and those of us at Infinitum, which is my little company. That's right. Is that, and your sister is also under that umbrella? Uh-huh. Objection, vague and ambiguous. Again, Mr. Smith is Johnny Depp's lawyer. So I guess when Mr. Smith comes in, I'll just say Mr. Smith, objection, vague and ambiguous. That might be easier. The witness. My sister is, yes, she was working very closely with the production as I was. And the name of your production company? It's Infinitum Nihil. It's a strange one. Where did you get that from? In Latin, it means endless nothing. And are you an employee, as far as you know, of Infinitum? Infinitum? That's a good, I don't know if I am. Fair enough. Are you an officer or a director of the corporation? Wait, I should wear my glasses. Why? Oh, and I should zoom this in for you guys too. Oh, zoom. Okay, there we go. Let me get my glasses. Okay. Oh my God, it's so much more clear. I love it. I wish I wear contacts though, but it's too dry in LA to wear contacts. Okay, this is the lawyer. Fair enough. Are you an officer or a director of the corporation? I assume so. And do you know if Christy is an employee? Yes, she is. She is? And does she have an officer or director role in the corporation? Is it a corporation? Yes. 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 My sister Christy. Oh God. Okay. Sorry. Let me chill. Yes. My sister Christy was basically running the company. So I guess I don't exactly what president or vice, I don't know what they call it. Fair enough. And is she still in that role? Yes. Pretty much. Yeah. Okay. To the extent that the film that you made has rough cuts, do you know where those rough cuts would be? No. The film City of Lies, can you tell me you were starring in that movie as well? Yes. Is that right? As well as having executive producer credit? Yes. All right. And you mentioned that Brad Furman was the director. Is that right? Uh-huh. Yes. And did he direct the entire movie, start to finish? Yes. And it's my understanding that there were times where you would take over directing certain scenes or perhaps reshoots. Is that correct? And have you worked with her since? Okay, so it skips a couple pages. No. No. Do you intend on working with her again? No. No. It's my understanding that there were a little bit of conflict between Miss Siegel and some other people on set. Did you ever witness any of that conflict yourself while on set? Oh, yes. Yes? Okay. Did this conflict plague the set, I guess? Yes, it did. Mr. Smith, objection, vague, and ambiguous. Back to the lawyer. And at various points, did it disrupt the filming of the film? Quite a lot early on, yes. When you say early on, can you tell me how soon you felt or how you realized there was a conflict involved with Miss Siegel in the film? On the first day of shooting, Miss Siegel, I was in one of the rooms talking to the director, to Brad, about the scene we were about to shoot. And Miss Siegel came into the room in a sort of a panic sort of screeching, screaming at the director, "Why aren't we shooting? What's going on?" That kind of very, very panicked. And that was my first day of the shoot. And then since I've had the number of years of experience on sets and stuff, that's really an abominable way to, you never approach the director that way. A producer's supposed to have those answers first. But a producer should also go to the first assistant director who is running the set as opposed to the director, and especially when he's in a conversation with one of the actors about the scene. So it was rather sort of shocking I'd never very rarely seen anything like that happen before. And was this a public sort of thing where she did a public confirmation she had with Brad? It was certainly in front of me, and skips a couple pages. Who's asking this question? Okay. Oh, lawyer is. Did you, for example, yourself take extra measures to secure your person? Did you bring extra security guards? Did you have extra protection yourself while filming this? No, just the same as normal. Same as normal. And usually when you're on the set was filmed mostly in Los Angeles. Am I correct? Yes. Yes. When you're in Los Angeles and you're filming in public places, how many security guards security guards do you usually have with you? There's usually two. Two. It's my understanding that Jerry Judge was with you throughout the filming of this. Yes. Yes. And then he's retired since, or is he still with you? Yes. Who said this? Oh, it skips a couple pages again. Sorry, the page skips. It messes with me. All right, this is Johnny Depp. Yes. Or no, this is the lawyer. Yes. Are you familiar with the term body man or body woman? Wait, does it skip? Oh yeah, it does skip a couple pages. I told you it was messing with me. Okay, this is the lawyer. Yes. Are you familiar with the term body man or body woman? No. No. When I say body man, I refer to someone who is always near, within arm's length distance, of the person that's being protected versus the other person who may be driving. I see. Who may be making sure the perimeter is safe. Did you have a specific body man with you during the filming of City of Lies? It was always either one or the other or the both of them close by. Who drove you? That would be Sean. Sean would have been driving. Okay, got it. Well, on the set while you were filming City of Lies, at any point did you come to realize the film was over budget? Yes, I was told that they were. They were getting into a dangerous arena budget-wise, which of course brings in the completion bond, which company, which is the bank, so yes, I had some discussions with Brad Furman about it, but never with Miriam. Okay, with your discussion with Brad, was Mr. Furman stressed out or upset about the over budget situation? Yes, he was. Yes, he was pretty stressed. And you yourself? No, not particularly. As long as I was able to do our work and then it was fine. having been in those kind of situations where a film does run over budget, that's basically when, before the completion bond comes in and starts just pulling out pages randomly out of the screenplay, that's when you have to go in, for example, and sort of forensically look through the screenplay, go through the screenplay to decide what's necessary and what's unnecessary. So what we believe will be necessary for the film, and then the scenes that ultimately are just kind of shoe leather or establishing window dressing. All right, it skips. No. KNOW. Yes. And in order to complete the film, as you mentioned, as you're taking scenes out, you're doing all sorts of stuff. Did you yourself feel that crunch in the end where the scenes were being limited, taken out? We can't shoot in more, time's up, we can't pay the crew, this type of... Yes, I definitely felt that was happening. Yeah, sure. Can you give me an estimate of time when you felt that it was going in that direction, that sort of budgeting was occurring on set? It wasn't very long to the production before there was that kind of panic. And from everything that I was getting from Brad Furman, my job really became to come to work, calm down, and then let's attack the issues. You know, let's attack the issues that need to be addressed here and trim the fat. And or if we have to shoot this here and we have to be done by, say, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or if the other location is here, let's send a splinter crew to set up the next setups down there so they can all have to do is essentially they've got the dolly set up. So they just watch the camera and you're pre-lit. You'd have a sort of kind of thing which you don't. I mean, when you're in those situations, I don't tend to panic in those situations just because ultimately it's there. There are limitations in every film. And you have to be ready to take a left turn when you thought you were going, extreme right. So you have to be ready to deal with whatever may happen, on set. So you didn't necessarily stress out during these moments, but Mr. Brad Furman was quite stressed. Quite stressed. Okay. It seems to be coming in his, estimation that, everything was coming from Miriam. Okay, when you say everything was coming from Miriam, do you mean the budgeting issues were coming from her? Yes. Brad was saying it's almost as if she's sabotaging the film, just to be correct. Okay, would it help you to say... Okay, would I help you if I said that it was sometime in 2017? So we have another page skip. 2017, maybe is it summerish? Well, I can help you by telling you, I don't know, that the incidents that are all alleged in the complaint are alleged to have happened on April 12th, the night of April 12th, and April 13th, 2017. Okay. So keeping that in mind, does that help you when giving me a time frame as to when the filming began? As if that was April 21st, you say. April 12th. April 12th. Then I'm going to guess February. Great. Probably start shooting around February, I would say March. And sir, immediately prior to shooting City of Lies, what films were you shooting? Let's see, City of Lies, I can't remember. Okay, did you shoot anything else in 2016? I'm sure I did. And I'm trying to remember if I shot Fantastic Beasts before that. I think I did. I believe I did. And prior to Fantastic Beasts, what was the film closest to that you shot? It might have been Murder on the Orient Express. Orient Express, okay, all right. And immediately after City of Lies, do you remember the film that you shot thereafter? After City of Lies, I don't. It seems like it might have been on the second Fantastic Beasts, sometimes after that, I think. That's okay. Sorry. That's okay. Would it be fair to say the second Fantastic Beasts would have been in 2017? I believe so. And do you remember when you shot in 2018? 2018. Minamoto we did. That was 2019. Before that was Waiting for the Barbarians. In 2018? I don't know if that was 2018 or 2019. Okay. I wish I could remember. Okay, and as we may backtrack later for some details, but right now, if we could just get into that and, get into your testimony of the day, if that's okay with you. Sure. Great, okay. Now, it's my understanding that, again, I'll tell you that the incident occurred on the night of April 12th, going to the morning of April 13th. Is that correct? Yes. Do you yourself have, as you sit here today, have an independent memory of that incident? Do you understand my question? No. Okay. It's been over 2 years since this night occurred. Yes. As you sit here today, putting aside what you read as far as the complaint and discovery and other things that people have told you, do you yourself in your mind's eye remember what occurred on the night of April 12th? Yes. You do. Great. Okay. Have you had, a couple page skips. Have you had an opportunity to read what's written here, the paragraph next to 11 o'clock p.m.? Yes. All right. And again, earlier you testified, let's just get right into it. Earlier you testified that you have an independent memory of what occurred on this evening, correct? Yes. I'm making Johnny Depp sound so emo and the lawyer sounds so peppy. I'm just trying to distinguish between the two because I think when I was reading the Rocky Brooks one, when I was saying like lawyer, Rocky, lawyer, Rocky, I don't know, it was kind of annoying and then it made the video longer. So yeah, anyways. Yes. Okay, and you just read this paragraph. Is this paragraph in conformity with what you remembered happened that evening? No. Okay, great. Why don't I ask you then what your independent memory is of what occurred with Mr. Brooks, the plaintiff in this matter, on the night of April 12, 2017? Mr. Smith. Objection. Calls for narrative, but you can answer. Johnny Depp. The first time that I ever, as I believe it was the first time that I ever laid eyes on Mr. Brooks, and I think the discussion that I had with Mr. Brooks had nothing to do with the location hours or pressure to get off the streets. I witnessed Mr. Brooks behaving in a rational, sort of angry manner in which he began to, there happened to be an elderly lady who I suppose he felt was in his way. I don't know. But he was very disrespectful to her and used harsh words with her as if she had done something to him. He had, in his own words to her, with great temper and bitterness, and, there's a lot of poison in it. And it was belligerent. My reaction to that was to stop that confrontation, was to remind him that he was on a film set and he had no right to speak to that woman that way, that he was speaking to her, had no right to treat her that way. Did he think that he was something more important than she? That sort of attitude. And he had quite a cocky attitude. I don't want to interrupt you. Yes. And when we'll go back to more details, but when you approached him and stopped him from speaking, can I say rudely disrespecting to this woman? All of the above. Did he stop mistreating her? Did he stop what he was doing? I had got in between, and so he did stop, and did he apologize? No. To the woman? No. Did he apologize to you? No. Did he respond? Yes. Did he respond to you or to the woman? He responded to me. Do you remember his response? Yes, it was not word for word, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of F you. I don't have to listen to you, kind of, Okay, that sort of thing. Like I said, he got very cocky. I felt very froggy. So he responded by telling the star of the film, F you, I don't have to listen to you. Pretty much. And you don't have him thrown off the set? No. Okay, and in your lifetime of being you, do you know what I mean when I say the lifetime of being you? Known all too well. Has anyone on set ever told you to F off? Yes. Okay. Any production assistant said F you to you? No, I had an incident in the film where the filmmaker had intimidated this young French actress who was in the film. He had manipulated her into doing nudity that she had been uncomfortable with. His name was Jeremy Levin. Who's Jeremy Levin? Oh my God, throwing him under the bus. Jeremy Levin. Who's that? His name was Jeremy Levin, and he was a director. He told her that Johnny was very upset that she had decided not to do the nudity. He told her that Johnny was very upset that she had decided not to do the nudity and that I thought it was, very important for the film. Skips a couple pages. Think you can't speak to that woman this way. You can't, who do you think you are? Who do you think she's less than you? Do you think you're, I don't tolerate injustice. And especially when there's an elderly woman who's on the film set as an extra and she's intimidated already by what's going on. And then for some reason, this guy just snaps on her. So I think seems to me, if he was willing to do that, he got caught doing that, and I raised attention to what he's done. It doesn't surprise me that his response would be something like that. I mean, I had also, I've been used to, at this point in my life, I've been used to taking some pretty good shots in the media, and your skin is thick? Huh? Your skin is thick now. Thick skin? Yeah, probably. Putting all that aside, would you agree with me now that addressing you in that way, speaking to you in that fashion, would have been grounds for him to be removed off the set immediately? No, not for me, no. Because I knew of course we had time crunches. You said before every day there's a time crunch, and every day you're trying to get the crew in and out so that they can live their lives. But when you're in a time crunch and you have to get the work done, there's no time. Hold a grudge? There's no time to hold a grudge. As I said, it's a collaborative effort. There's no reason to hold a grudge. There was no reason for an argument, at all. He needed to calm himself down for where he was going. He was quite frantic. I don't know. The location, we need to get at the location or something. Okay, and after can I say that he says, in lack of better terms, F you, I don't have to listen to you. And you hear that, what do you do? What's the next immediate thing that you do? The next immediate thing that I do? Yeah, right. You tell him to stop berating this woman. He says, F you, don't have to listen to you. What do? I said, listen, as I would say to anybody, if you're going to insult, dress down, belittle, if you're going to treat others in this way, we're not going to make it, That doesn't happen. Also, Johnny Depp uses a lot of really interesting terms and phrases I've never heard of, like dress down, feeling froggy. Does he just make them up or are they like legit phrases? I'm just curious. Okay, sorry, that was a side note. And what was your response to that combative FU to you? Yes. Okay. What was this then immediate response to you? What happened next? He was just sort of, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. If he were in the room, I wouldn't be able to identify the guy. You wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup? No, I wouldn't. Okay. But I'll tell you, he was just sort of standing there chewing gum. He was playing it as a very cocky, as if he wanted some sort of confrontation. Did he say anything further to you after your last statement to him? Oh, Mr. Smith, objection, vague as into time. Johnny Depp, Mr. Smith, well, let's speak. Are we focused just on this incident at this moment? Rocky's lawyer, yes. So the way that I understand is that Mr. Depp then responds back with, this is how you're going to be. It's not exactly going to cut it. We're not going to make it. Exactly what Mr. Depp said. And Johnny Depp, well, there was no time to argue. We had to shoot. There's no time to argue. Yeah. And he had done something quite ugly in regards to that elderly woman, an elderly black woman who was homeless, right? And it's not going to do anybody any good to get into a, for lack of a better term, pissing contest about what's what. We need to get through the shoot and we need to get out of here. And the last thing, so I just went back to, let's get to the shot. Let's get what we need. Last I saw him, he was doing some sort of a tough guy, Leo Gorsey, New York gumshoeing kind of thing. And he mumbling about something or other. Yeah, he was still behaving somewhat goofy. Also, I still haven't looked up this reference yet. Who is Leo Gorsey? Is that like a Gang of New York sort of dude? In that altercation, when I basically split, I went back to making the movie, which is our primary focus. Then I've been sitting with the script supervisor, Emma, by the monitors, and that's when the whole thing went down. By the way, guys, side note, Emma is we did a video about her. She's a witness. She's the only witness that has come out so far, that we know of. We have her deposition, and she actually said that she had photos of the entire altercation, but we don't have access to that. Anyways. Okay, I don't want to interrupt your answers, but I do want to understand specifically what happened in those few seconds. So I'd like you to go a little bit backwards a little bit if that's okay with you. Sure. As you testified, he says, F you, I don't have to listen to you, or someone in that neighborhood, and then you then explain to him, this behavior is not going to go further on this set. Your behavior towards this woman is unacceptable. That kind of stuff. This doesn't happen on set. I don't ever want to see it again. That sort of stuff, basically. Right. And then just made sure that the woman was all right, that she was cool, and that she was cool. And I believe I went back to the monitors with Emma and over to Brad. I can't remember. Okay. But we were shooting with someone who had done me a favor by flying in from Atlanta with 3 hours notice. He's a rap star his name is Killer Mike. He's with a group called Run the Jewels, and so he was filming that night. We also had Biggie's, Christopher Wallace's mom, Valletta Wallace, who had been on the set there as well, and my character's widow and kids were there on set. So it was quite a big day, and certainly the last thing that I felt that Valletta Wallace or anybody needed to see was an extra of any stature, of anyone being sort of dressed down for no reason or treated as scum. It was, if there was any other day not to have it, certainly that was the day. Understood. Earlier you testified that you came in and put yourself physically between Mr. Brooks and this extra who was being berated by Mr. Brooks. I just want to clarify. You physically use yourself as a barrier between Mr. Brooks and this extra? I put myself, my body, my being, in between Mr. Brooks and the woman, yes. The woman. And when you turn around to make sure, and I'll ask you, did you turn around to make sure the woman was okay? Did you make contact with her? Turn around? I don't remember if I turned around to make contact with her. How did you make sure she was okay? Simply asking, are you okay? Do you need anything? There wasn't a whole lot more exchange. She said she was okay, but she was freaked out. And when you walked over there, and you then walked over to where you were previously behind the camera? After we spoke, I went back over to by the monitors. Look at the shot that Brad was setting up. You notice that Mr. Brooks, well, I'll ask you. As you were asking the lady if she was okay, what do you remember Mr. Brooks doing? Again, he was just sort of standing there, it was after he had given her a pretty brisk, just standing there, and you mentioned chewing gum? Yeah, he was sort of just standing there. Okay. Playing, he looked like he was, playing the tough guy, And he didn't continue to speak directly to you after that, or indirectly or directly anything at you? No, like I said, that was not sort of the time or the place to continue or conduct any sort of discussion, argument, whatever. That was not the time and the place to do that. So the last I saw of Mr. Brooks was when I walked away from him was he was standing there with the gum, kind of just mumbling, sort of, I don't think it was particularly happy. Was he mumbling anything that you could hear? Did you make out anything out? No, it was sort of like this kind of mumbly complaint thing, and that kind of, who do you think you are, kind of that feeling. But we had work to do, The entire interaction, how long do you think it lasted? How many seconds? A minute, 2 minutes? I mean, it was quick. It was like 30 seconds, 40, 30 seconds. Do you know, aside from the woman that mentioned, do you happen to know her name? The elderly woman? Yes. No, I don't know. Do you happen to know where we would be able to get her name? Was she an extra? Yeah, I believe she was an extra. Yeah, I'm sure she was an extra. And would the extras be paid? Sure. And they would be paid. And was she an actor, actress, or was she? I believe she was. Mr. Smith. Objection. Calls for speculation. Don't guess, Mr. Depp. Rocky's lawyer. Yes, never guess. And if you don't know, you don't know. That's fair. But to the extent you know, there's some question whether or not she was a person that didn't have a home. I had been talking to quite a lot of the people, the homeless people in the area, downtown on the day. I can't recall if she had been there or not, but my thoughts were that she was for real homeless. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that's the case. And only if you know. And what was Mr. Brooks saying to that woman? Was he angrily stating to her? What was he angrily stating to her? It was almost like because he had been stomping around, it was almost like he turned, and it seemed he almost like turned and walked into her or something. It was like, get the fuck out of my way, that kind of thing, Had you noticed him stomping around the set at the time? He had a couple of, I guess he talked to Brad is what I understand. And then it was sort of stomping around here and there. And then I was sitting at the monitors with Emma, and that's when I saw him, have this sort of way with this poor woman. Okay, it's your understanding now, as you sit here today, that you had some words with Brad Furman before your interaction with him. But that day, you didn't know that he had words with Brad Furman. Is that correct? No, I didn't know until later. I was told, that he was miffed about the time to stop or whatever. I'd been told by Brad that we had a midnight cutoff outside, and that's what we were trying to get done. All right, quick little insert. So Johnny's saying right here that he thought the cutoff was at midnight. Rocky's testimony was that he had to keep getting the permit extensions, and the cutoff was actually 11 o'clock outside, but it was midnight for inside the Barclay Hotel. And who told you that he had words with Mr. Furman prior to your interaction with him? No, I learned about his words with Mr. Furman after. Who told you? How did you learn? Brad. Brad? When? Basically at rap. That evening? Uh-huh. And how did that conversation take place? He was like one of those, can you believe this effing guy? It was one of those, Okay, Mr. Furman approached you with that, or you approached Mr. Furman with that? Brad had told me of this talk with him, his confrontation with him. I then, because the most important thing to keep on the set, because if you let it go nuts, it will go nuts, And if you let things drag out, they will drag out. And they'll just get worse and worse. So after the conversation with Brad, I understood a little bit more with regard to Mr. Brooks' freakout. I decided that perhaps the guy, again, he's under a lot of pressure. The location, the clock's ticking. So I thought to myself, this guy look, he just got hot. He made a mistake. We still have to finish the film. There's no reason to drag it out on set. Disharmony takes away. So I sent, I think it was Jerry or Sean, to find Mr. Brooks that I can go and have a talk with him and clear the air and say that, to tell him that I understood that he was under a lot of pressure. Now, I understood that he had a discussion with the director that was, not to his liking. And that's his arena. Locations is his arena. So he's responsible. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I went up and I found him. In fact, I had my assistant bring a bottle of wine, and we toasted in, I think, paper cups. And, no harm, no foul. I apologized. He apologized, gave me a hug. We embraced, I hugged him, and everything was cool. As a matter of fact, he asked for a selfie with me, so I took a selfie with him, and then last I heard of Mr. Brooks was what Sean, I think it was Sean or Jerry, I think it was Sean saying, that was cool, you did that. Sean, that was cool, you did that. The guy came up to me afterwards, he said, hey, you know what? Your boss he's a solid guy. He's a solid guy. That was what Mr. Brooks told Sean Bett. And that was it. That was the last time you heard of Mr. Brooks or from Mr. Brooks? Yes. Until when? Until suddenly there was a case brought upon against me. We're skipping around a lot, but that's okay. Prior to a case being brought against you, was there an article written about this incident? Did anyone bring your attention to this article? I don't recall. I have built-in. I don't read anything from the internet or papers or anything. I don't know anything, you know? Okay, to the best of your memory here today, you don't know whether, I think it was Variety read an article about you punching. Oh, it cuts off. Darn it. All right, who's reading this? On completing their exterior shots by the permitted time, does this entry here at 10:30 fall in line with your prior testimony that time was running short in getting these shots while the permits were still active? What I had been told with regard to permits was that we had a midnight, I don't know whether it was an extension or whether I was told that we had the rights to shoot outside until midnight, so at 10:45 while we were effectively shooting that scene. Of course, there were other shots that night. You were shooting inside and outside the Barclay, correct? Yes. And what was your understanding of when your permit to shoot inside the Barclay expired? I don't remember the permit inside the Barclay. I just remember that we had, as far as I told you, our permit for outside the limit was midnight. Who told you that? I believe it was Brad. I believe it was Brad Furman. Yeah. It came open. They opened it at the trailer. Oh, this is a couple pages skip as well. Hold on, let me sneeze. Okay, so it skips a couple of pages. Yeah. It came open. They opened it at the trailer and then bought it. Who had opened that wine for you? It would have been my assistant at the time. Who was that? Nathan Holmes. Is he still your assistant? No, he lives in Yorkshire. Yorkshire? Good for him. He's escaped. Yeah. Was it your custom to open wine and be sort of merry at the end of filming? At rap. At rap? Yeah, at rap. It's, when you've been through a hard day, you've got a lot of what you believe is to be meaningful. You've captured some meaningful things. Yeah, there's generally a glass or two of wine, celebration kind of thing at the end of the day, just to wind down. But that was brought intentionally. I asked for it so I could have a drink, Symbolic? Yeah, to toast one another and say, understood, everything's cool, let's move forward. What was Mrs. Wallace? Was Mrs. Wallace still on the set when the wine was brought out and the toast happened? And no, you rapped. Ms. Wallace had left. And was she on the set when the altercation occurred between you and Mr. Smith? Objection. Rocky's lawyer. Rocky? Mr. Smith. To the characterization altercation. Rocky's lawyer. It's a bad word, right? What would you say? Mr. Smith. Interaction. Rocky's lawyer. Interaction? Mr. Smith. Sure. Johnny Depp. At this point, I don't know if Mrs. Wallace or Valletta was still there. Mike was there when we were shooting outside. Had you any Moscow meals that day? What is all with Moscow meals? You remember when they were accusing Dr. Curry of having Moscow meals with Johnny Depp? Moscow meals. You say beginning of the year 2019. Okay, another page skip. He was already ill, so I believe it was in 2018, when he was no longer physically able to make the, work in the way that he used to work, needed to, yeah. Was Jerry a witness to the interaction with the Brooks that day, if you know? Yes, I'm sure he was, yes. He was on set, as was Sean. And they were always near you or around you, is that correct? Generally, yeah. Okay, it's my understanding that some witnesses have stated that at some point or two of your bodyguards that day intervened in your interaction with Mr. Brooks. Does that make sense of your memory of the incident? Mr. Smith. Vague and ambiguous as to intervene. Johnny Depp. That sort of word that I don't quite get. I mean, intervention. Well, it's a dangerous word. All right. Well, I can maybe it's better if I can make it. Yeah. Easy, just in a sense that if something were to, in a situation like that, if I'm unfortunately in a position where I have to scold someone for not behaving like a professional, I'm sure they would have taken interest if I made a move to stop him from what he was doing, which was being rude to the woman. So, but there was no, by intervening, that sort of thing, that connotates someone was out of control or something that we had to be pulled apart. That's not the case at all. That's not the case? No. Would it surprise you that what witness states that your longtime bodyguard, Jerry Judge, had to physically pull you away from Mr. Brooks? If Jerry physically pulled me, oh man, page skips. Why these page skips? You've never had an occasion to speak with Mr. Furman about the detail? No. Has anyone told you whether or not Mr. Furman affirmatively said to Mr. Brooks, you go tell Johnny then? No one said that, confirmed that to me. No, I mean, and I certainly didn't hear it. Some witness statements say that you were directing that particular scene. No. And that Mr. Furman was taking a back seat. Is that true? No. Did you? I've never, ever taken power away from a director, or especially on an active set, to chidle the director aside and sit him down and say, you know, I'm going to take care of this now in front of his entire crew would be very bad form, you know? Right. And that would be it's almost like a hostile takeover. It would be embarrassing for the filmmaker, and I would never do that. Again, it's a collaborative effort. If I made suggestions of the effect of the actors, let's say the actor's reaction to being arrested, I do remember making the suggestion because I thought it was very important to see this black man who was doing nothing wrong whatsoever, and he gets his regular hassle from cops on the street. And what I wanted to see was, instead of seeing this man fight against the police, what I suggested was that when they throw him against the wall, they put him in handcuffs, that he remain, that it's not new, it's nothing new, that he remains dignified and maintained his cool and his integrity and just took it like a man. Though it was a grave injustice, it is something that a lot of people are used to down in those areas. Those are the suggestions that I make. Okay, but was Mr. Furman directing that scene? Yes. Okay, and you were not in that particular scene, correct? No. Couple pages skip again. But Killer Mike was in that scene, correct? Oh, wait, maybe not. Oh, no, that's page skip. But Killer Mike was in that scene, correct? Yes. And he had come from Atlanta? Yes. And he's a friend of yours? Yes. He had done you a favor to come and film this scene? Yes. Was it only the scene that he was in? Yeah. Do you know if his scene ended up in the actual last version of the movie? I asked about it, and Brad knew that it was an important cameo, and I'm sure it did. Good. Did Brad want to shoot this scene? Mr. Smith calls for speculation. Rocky's lawyer. That's right. Let me help on this. You mean, did he want to shoot the scene? He shot the scene. He shot the scene, yeah, but we know now that everything was over, just like it's always over. Why is she saying it so much? Oh, man, I wish we had access to video deposition. Just reading the transcripts it's not the same thing. You got to see like the body language with the video deposition. Uh-huh. And you mentioned how you start tearing out the pages of the script. That's if the completion bond comes in. That's right. Was this scene that you and Brad disagreed on in terms of whether or not it was important to shoot that night? No. Okay. No. Once he knew that Killer Mike was coming in after no one noticed, that he would just get on the plane after he and his wife, I informed that Killer Mike had said yes, he would be flying in, he would be in the afternoon, but it was fine because his scenes weren't until later that night. There was some witness discussion about Mr. Furman not wanting to shoot the scene, but it was important to you specifically, and him sort of not having to go along with it, and sort of the reason why he begrudgingly tells Mr. Brooks, well, then you go tell Johnny he needs to wrap up. So my question to you is that the sense that you felt that day while you were on the set watching the scene be shot? Nope. Damn it! Page jump again. Way was Mr. Brooks. Oh, Way was it was Mr. Brooks. Okay, and when you say you got in his proximity, a stereotype is girls don't know anything about measurements. But you and I seated here at this table, I don't know. What do you think? Is it 3 feet or 3 feet apart? Between us? Between us. Oh, between us. Yeah. I put my hand out. I can't reach you. 3 feet apart. Do you think that you and Mr. Brooks were 3 feet apart or maybe a little bit closer? It was closer. Closer than 3 feet apart? Uh-huh. You think this is a foot in right now here so if you're looking at this and that's 2 feet apart, would you say you're about 2 feet apart? About 2 feet apart, something like that. It was, again, on a film set, yeah, it's quite tight, right? It's tight, but you don't just break into a yell. Things need to be dealt with in a very discreet way. So it's, as I said before, no screaming, no nothing. It was me talking to the guy, telling him that his behavior was unacceptable and that things ain't going to work this way, In fact, at that point, it was, I was a little surprised that this location manager, who I guess, was having his moment of freak out, that I was a little surprised that he was so interested in taking so much time off the set. If he wanted us to complete the shoot, he seemed to be wasting a lot more time. Do you feel that he yelled at you at any point during the interaction? No, I don't believe he yelled at me, but he was heated. And it was, all the stuff we talked about earlier. But no part of your body made physical contact with his body. Am I correct? Absolutely not. No contact whatsoever. There are dozens and dozens. I mean, there are like 40, 50, 60 people around. And we're on the street, We're filming it on the street. Emma Danoff. Emma Danoff, the script supervisor. Yes, it could be Emma. That could be Emma. But Brad's assistant, whose name does escape me, of course, that does look more consistent with how she was dressed. And she was always at Brad's side. Okay, Emma Danoff. Uh-huh. Do you know how many times you worked with Emma Danoff? I believe twice, possibly 3 times. Tell me the first movie that you worked with her on. It's so hard to. I can't remember what film we did together. You have an independent memory of her name today, a very clear memory of her name in your testimony. Is it because you recently went over your discovery response that give her name? No. I mean, she certainly mentioned, but I know Emma from, like I said, a couple of films. Maybe 3, but you work with so many different people. You know these people, but it's hard to remember exactly what film you've done together. Sometimes you look at each other and go, why do we know each other? And they go, we did Gilbert Grape. And you go, oh yeah, okay, yes. That was some time ago. Yeah, but I don't know what Emma did. I don't know that Emma did Gilbert Grape. I'm just saying. We had a joke earlier, and I said you probably wouldn't be able to pick up Mr. Brooks out of a lineup. Yes. Would you be able to pick up Miss Danoff out of a lineup? Yes. If she walked into the room, you would know it's Emma Danoff? Yes. Do you have a friendly relationship with her? We get along great, sure. Okay. Have you ever socialized outside of her being a script supervisor? No. Was she the script supervisor for the entirety of City of Lies? Yes, I believe so. Yes. Yes. And do you yourself go through the production company and hire her directly? No. I'm wondering how she landed on 3 of your films. Do you have any idea how she was? And I'm assuming, was she the script supervisor on other films? Yes. And that's what she does by trade? Yeah. That's her job. Do you know how she ended up being the script supervisor of 3 of your films? She was lucky, I suppose. She was unlucky. Oh, no, she was unlucky. She was unlucky, I suppose. She was unlucky. She had to deal with me 3 times. I don't. Did you request her? No, I didn't. But I certainly would have requested her or given her the highest marks. She's an astonishing script supervisor, one of the most difficult jobs on the set. You have to keep track of everything, and she's very, very good. So I would have, of course, recommended her for the job. Did you work with her on a daily basis on City of Lies? Oh, yeah, of course. And what was some of the interactions that you would have with her throughout the film as you're filming? Generally, a script supervisor will make sure, for example, if you shot what's called a master shot, the wide shot, once you've established the master, if I say a line, I pick up my drink, say the line, take a sip, put it back down, and then say the rest of the line. You want what you want when they get to the close-up or closer shots. You have to watch those actions. So Emma's always the one watching she will make sure that you're matching your actions from the master that's set. Any movement from that master, they can cut to the close-up with the glass lifting. You know what I mean. So if she keeps her interaction, so she keeps our interactions would be, and I think it skips a couple pages. Yes, it does. That up, if you wanted to look that information, I would probably go to IMDb, just like anyone else, right? Yeah, just to look up the crew. Okay, you think you worked with her more than once in the last 5 years? I can't say that it's once in the last 5 years, but it's definitely must be once, at least once or twice in the last 10 years, I guess. All right, and did you have request her specifically for City of Lies or any other movie you work with her on? No. And do you intend on requesting her specifically for any other movies you have getting ready to shoot? No, there's been no plan of that, no. Okay, speaking of which, the trial in this case is October. The trial in this case is October. Are you currently a civilian? I'm a civilian. Are you currently a civilian when you're shooting your next film? Sir? As far as I know, the next film that I think it cuts off again. But these, from what I see a little bit of silver on his shoulder. He looks to me like a police extra. Great. I'll represent to you that Miss Danoff states that this photograph was taken almost directly after your discussion with Mr. Brooks. Uh-huh, yes. Does that seem correct to you? Mr. Smith, objection calls for speculation and vague and ambiguous. Do you know this photograph is directly after the confrontation with Mr. Brooks? I don't know if it was directly after the confrontation, but after we had our discussion, I made my way back to set, back to work. This is where I went. And how far did you have to walk back to where you are here in this photograph or where you had your interaction with Mr. Brooks? Oh, I think it was 10 feet, maybe 12. And oh, it skips a couple pages. That's where the other monitors would be, I believe. Were you across the other side of the street during the interaction? No. Or somewhere between the streets? No. Quite close to set. I mean, if where I put the X and where I noticed the monitor there, that would be about the length of this table roughly for me to and a discussion there and then walk back to the set. The other thing that I noticed is that you had said earlier something about we had more shooting to do inside that night, but I'm in my civilian clothes. I'm not in wardrobe in these photographs. Thank you. It's all right. You're absolutely right because earlier I showed you a photograph in a trench coat. You identified your father and you were wearing a trench coat. Right. I'm out of costume here. I'm off the clock. Here's a better shot. Here you're wearing what looks like to be a jacket. It's a green plaid jacket. Plaid shirt. Plaid shirt? Okay. This was not part of your wardrobe? No. So now this has refreshed your recollection. I'm correct when I say that you were done shooting yourself that night. You were not shooting any more scenes. I apparently was not because it would have been strange to get out of the wardrobe, to go back and get into the wardrobe unless there was a change. But I think at 11, this is 11:11 right here, it looks to me like they've given up shooting any, whatever shot they had left on the inside. Okay, we just know from, sorry, I've stolen your pen. No, not at all. And I'm going to ask you, I know you placed an X, but on the record, can you also do the same thing? Oh, sure. Yeah, that would be great. Marking where your interaction with Mr. Brooks approximately took place. Would it be unusual for you to take off your trench coat, for continuity purposes, not to get it dirty or wrinkled or whatnot, take it off for a short amount of time while others were shooting scenes, put on this jacket or this shirt so you wouldn't get cold because it is 11 o'clock at night in downtown LA in April. And then later on when it's your turn against the shoot, put on that trench coat. I mean, that could happen in a film. It could certainly happen, but it's happened before. I know that on this film because there was a little bit more than just wardrobe to deal with. I was wearing a padded suit, a fat suit, so that I had a big beer gut sort of belly, sort of a flabby looking. So I wore a fat suit under a lot of my wardrobe. And when I also wore the trench coat, it's an earlier time for the character in the piece. It's daytime, correct? Well, he was still a police officer then. It was prior to having him leave the force. So whenever I see the trench coat, I know that's the earlier in the scenes, which wouldn't have any relevance to these scenes whatsoever. Because here, my character has already left the force and he's gotten older and chunkier and all that stuff. So I know for sure that I'm totally out of my wardrobe here. In fact, my hair isn't even sort of coiffed in that weird way that the character was at the time. I was going to ask you, was there any changes to your hair? Uh-huh. Were there wearing some sort of wig or had a color in your hair? Yes. To make you look older? Yes. During the hotel scenes, the scenes where your character's inside the Barclay Hotel? Yes. Okay, so essentially, the scenes where your character's inside the Barclay Hotel are when your character is older in time. Exactly. And they're mostly scenes with Forrest Whitaker that took place in what was Russell Poole's rundown apartment. Okay. Was there any scenes inside the Barclay Hotel that were shot that didn't include you? I don't know. Okay. I'm only asking because I know that shot and continued into the Barclay Hotel that evening. Just from reading, I guess I'm calling them the dailies. But now I understand that you were not part of those shoots. I don't know how I could have been, no. Okay. I don't see how I could have been since I'm well out of, costume and what looks like hair. And it would have taken a significant amount of time to get you back into the costume, right? Okay, correct? Then I'd have to, yes. And if you're already running for time, I would have still been in wardrobe. I would have still been in the fat suit or whatever it was. And this is going to the evening. The shots earlier that I've shown you with your father, and then looked like there was a little bit of daylight left. Do you know if your father and his wife were present during the evening hours of this day? Were they on set? I don't remember if they stayed the entire day. I know I'd forgotten that they were completely there. There completely. But there's no mistaking. I see my father's back and his arms, certainly him. And that was the day that we had quite an intense and very long scene with Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls' mother, Valletta. We did a scene in a diner with Ms. Wallace, myself, and Forrest. We'd done that for a couple of hours that day. We'd shot. Who was she playing? Herself? She's playing herself, yeah. Wow. Yeah, she was quite special. Yes, I agree. I agree too. Okay, no more sign up. The lawyer. All right. What I would like to do now is take a quick break if we can. Let me see how much more I have and try and wrap this up. Is this yours? Although, this is yours, right? These are going to be original, sirs, because you've marked them, and the court reporter is going to take custody of them right now. Approximate area of, okay, everything or the whole. Yes, the whole stack, sir. The videographer. Off the record, the time is now 6 o'clock p.m. Recess! The videographer. We are back on record. The time is now 6:24. All right, we are almost done, guys. A couple more pages. Okay, just to wrap up a few questions. Sure. Thank you for indulging me, humoring me. Not at all. Thank you. I want to know whether or not you're aware of a declaration by Miss Danoff that was provided in this case. Yes. Have you read the declaration? Yes. And when did you last read it? Yesterday, I believe. Okay. Or this morning. Okay. Or yesterday. Either yesterday or today, you read it in the preparation for the deposition today? Uh-huh. Is that right? Yes. Yes. Excuse me. It's okay. And prior to reading it either last night or this morning, when did you first read the declaration? That was the first time. And when was the first time you had heard that Miss Danoff had written declaration in your favor? Oh, damn it. It jumps. Okay. Oh, this is the earpiece thing. You guys watched the defamation trial. Yes, 97, 98. And what Marlon used to wear an earpiece and a secretary because if he had like 5 pages of dialogue, Marlon loved the idea that he could get the dialogue from her in his ear and it would be almost like, him hearing it in his head for the first time. So he used it as it was a freshness to work for him. And when I was working with him, because he'd run out of, gas around 8 p.m., I would shoot all of Marlon's close-up first, and then I would watch a monitor that had Marlon's takes on it. I let him go home, and then I put his ear monitor in so that I could hear his dialogue, but the crew couldn't, which meant we could overlap. Understood. So that was how I first learned about the ear thing, and just thought immediately. I thought, well, this is perfect for music. Right. Now, Mr. Brando used it for words. Keenan doesn't read the dialogue to you through the earpiece, does he? No. I mean, there has been times in the past if you get somebody chucks a scene in and you say, well, I'm not ready for the scene. We weren't supposed to shoot yet, but it's got to be done. Right. It will be impossible to learn 2 or 3 pages of dialogue or more. So under those kind of circumstances, it's a good friend if you need to get something done that you're not fully prepared for. So in the past, yeah, I've used that method a couple of times, but it's not my favorite. Of course, understood. Now, the microphone that you have on where Keenan can hear you and presumably anyone with a headphone on the same frequency can hear you, whether or not, is that mic always hot? No. Strike that. Do you have control as to whether or not the mic is hot? I can make it unhot, certainly. Tell me how you would. Unplug it. All right, and that's it. I am the witness of the foregoing deposition. I've read the foregoing deposition. I've made changes and corrections as a desire. And la 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 la. Okay. And that is it. This is the court reporter certifying it. September 27, 2019. All right, guys. So that's it for Johnny Depp's deposition. This one was a lot shorter than Rocky's deposition by half the pages. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with anything else I find. And we do have a couple more documents to cover. And that'll be about it. All right. Thanks you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for those who stopped by to the live streams. I do appreciate you guys. Thanks for popping in. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that stuff if you enjoyed it. So I'll see you guys later.